Hello, my name is Baruch and I'm an alcoholic. Welcome to episode 56 of my series of Old Testament 12-step recovery videos. Today we're going to do the fourth step in the based on the book of Genesis. This is a part of a bigger project to go through all 12 steps for each of the 5 books of the Bible, and which will be 60 videos in all, God willing. Today we're going to look at Genesis 13:7, which reads, "And there was quarreling between the herdsmen of Abraham's livestock and the herdsmen of Lot's livestock." So this verse needs a little bit of explanation. Abram is Abraham. Abram had this name before he had his son Isaac, at which point he was called Abraham. So Abraham was the first monotheist. He was the first person in the world to understand that there was only one God in the world. He left his home in Ur, which was in where modern-day Iraq is, and he went to Israel with his wife Sarah and his nephew Lot. Lot was Abraham's nephew, along with other people. There was a famine in Israel, and Abraham, Lot, and Sarah went down into Egypt, where Pharaoh was interested in seducing Sarah, which he was unable to do. But when Pharaoh realized what he'd done, he was embarrassed. So he gave Abraham an enormous amount of livestock, which was really that was the form of wealth in those days. So he made Abraham very wealthy by giving him, hundreds or thousands of sheep. And he also gave livestock to Lot, because Lot was with Abraham. So Lot basically had become instantly wealthy. Lot didn't have a lot of livestock, and all of a sudden he had a lot. He became a rich man overnight, so to speak. And his uncle did too. Abraham also became very wealthy very quickly, and they went back to Israel with all these flocks of livestock, and they settled down. And right away they got into a fight, because Lot, the herdsman, they both employed herdsmen, and the herdsman of Lot said, "Hey, you're grazing your sheep on our grass. Get off our property. How dare you?" And it's all kind of a strange moment, because here's Lot, who he never had anything before. All of a sudden, he got this huge gift, and he becomes resentful that someone is encroaching on his money, his wealth. And Abraham says, basically, "I'll tell you what, why don't you go where you want to go? Wherever you go, I won't go. If you go right, I'll go left." Because Abraham understands that these kind of fights are not healthy to have, and I don't want to be near you. And by the way, but Abraham didn't say this, how dare you? You're only wealthy because you're related to me, and Pharaoh gave you this gift. And all these gifts come from God anyway. So all of a sudden, you've got this big attitude out of nowhere. And this is the reason this is relevant, in my opinion, to the fourth step, is that the fourth step can be about many different things. But at its root, a lot of fourth step work has to do with resentments. So the fourth step, just to recap, I'm sure you've seen it before, but if you haven't, the fourth step is made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. The fourth step is the first step that really requires a fair amount of work. The first 3 steps are about making decisions, understanding your life becoming manageable, realizing that only God can help you, turning your life and will over to God, right? The first 3 steps are not easy, but they are basically about changing your state of mind about something. The fourth step actually requires you to do some work. Take pen to paper, or in the modern day, take a computer to keyboard, and start writing down your inventory of things you've done, experiences you've had, which affect your recovery and your addiction, your resentments, things you've done wrong in your life. This is not easy. And fourth step is, it's interesting. My understanding is in the old days of AA, people would do all 12 steps maybe in a single day. Just kind of sit down and do the whole thing 1 through 12. Now people might do 1 step a week or 1 step a month, or take as much time as you want, whatever. But the fourth step, takes time. I think mine took about a week or two to really sort of think through. And one of the two key words here are searching and fearless, right? As my sponsor likes to say, the fourth step is, it's not about, when your doggy ran away when you're fourth grade and you were sad. The fourth step should be the things that you would rather go to the grave keeping secret than having anybody know about. It's this searching and fearless discovery of what's really going on inside of you that's leading you to drink and use or act out in addiction. And these are the defects of character that you need to work on in recovery and as you go through the later steps. And so what you have here with this story of Lot is this: if Lot were to do a fourth step, this story should be at the top of the list. I received an enormous amount of wealth for no particular reason. It turned me into a jerk. I was resentful of my uncle because I felt that, he was getting in the way of all this money that I had. I became grandiose. I mean, I could hear this in a meeting. And this resentment we don't have to be exactly like Lot to have this kind of resentment. I mean, you could have this resentment if you had 2 nickels and another person had 3 nickels. It's about resenting what you've been given in your life. And that's a root issue for a lot of us alcoholics. So trying to turn this biblical verse in 4th step into some recovery thoughts, I want to ask you a couple questions. One is, do you think that you've ever taken what God has given you for granted? There's plenty of people, and I'll include myself in this, we don't even realize how amazing our lives are. We're sitting around in resentment. We don't really see what God has given us. If you have a roof over your head, you have food to eat, you have money to spend, you have a family that loves you. These are things that God has given you. If you're sitting around miserable and resentful, you're being ungrateful to God in a way. You're like Lot. You're like, hey, I'm sorry. I only got 10,000 sheep. Why didn't I get 15,000? Stay off my grass, Or maybe you've resented what God has given you as unfair. Oh, I didn't get enough. I need more. That desire for more of whatever it is can lead us into some pretty bad places. Oh, I didn't get a raise. My friend got a raise. I resent that. But meanwhile, you have a job. Maybe you should be thankful you have a job through the grace of God. And my suggestion for today, even if you haven't done a 4th step yet, or if you're doing a 4th step, or if you're doing what a lot of people are doing now, which is you go back and sort of add to your 4th step. For some people, the 4th step never really ends. It's an ongoing process. Try to be conscious of resentments you may have about not being given enough in life. Because this, I think, drives a lot of addictive behavior and a lot of bad recovery and relapse. Resentments that cause us to act out or engage in self-pity. And for the plug, if you like this kind of stuff, if you enjoyed this little discussion, this is all in this Old Testament 12-step workbook. It's available at the link below or at oldtestamentsobriety.com. Love to work with you on this. So thanks for listening.